The face of business has changed more rapidly than ever before due to the boundless connectivity offered by the internet, the open platforms, and globalization. Because of automation, consumers and services producers have moved together in a way that could never have been imagined before. Today's market conditions demand greater dynamics and flexibilities from companies in order to be able to react even more quickly to changing needs. New communication technologies like Facebook and Twitter, for example, as social media platforms, or the almost boundless capacities and applications associated with cloud technology, impressively demonstrate how IT organizations are exposed to the pressure of change from being a technology provider to a customer-focused service provider. While the user's dependence on information technology increases, IT in turn increases in its complexity and risks regarding availability, security, and quality. The business of information technology is dependent on reliable partners who assuredly take on the responsibility for the necessary infrastructures. IT organizations are in demand here, but only if the business recognizes the differentiated added value of IT will an IT organization be able to assert itself as a reliable service provider on the market. How should IT organizations react to the new challenges? We live in a service society. We use services everywhere we go and at every opportunity, and naturally we expect them to be provided reliably and to be of a high quality. Imagine that you go into an Italian restaurant and you would like to eat one of your favorite pizzas. You expect that this pizza will be presented to you freshly prepared, warm, and well baked within an acceptable time. In addition, you want to get a good bottle of wine recommended by the chef or waiter. The personnel gladly fulfills any additional requests you may have, such as extra pepper or cheese. If you ate well and in a pleasant atmosphere, you will appreciate the above-average service and will almost certainly want to go again. Now imagine that the pizza is now presented to you as described. The dough is not properly baked and the pepperoni's burnt. The wine comes much too late and is too warm. Furthermore, there isn't any cheese, and the tomatoes are only brought on a separate plate after you've complained 3 times. Understandably, you will not appreciate such a service. However, IT departments often work in that way. They are structured in all respects according to the individual components, according to the network, storage, server, desktop, and applications. Many organizations think, speak, and act technologically. They deal with the individual components on their own. Business, however, needs IT services that offer their real added value through a networked operation. A service is the total result of all the performances involved and also leaves an overall impression of the performance on the customer. For a service to be good, the restaurant owner must have a well-founded understanding of what his guests want and coordinate the performance of his enterprise in exact alignment with this. Only in this way can he hope with some justification that the guests will visit his restaurant again in the future.
The service should create a real added value to the business and make it easier for the business to reach its goals. Here it is important to understand that the service must be understood and defined from the point of view of the customers. Only once the customer optimally attains his results with the support of IT services will he appreciate their value. IT organizations must learn how to collate their performances in one coherent service and make sure that the performances marry up to the quality demanded by the customer. The management must know which performances are needed and which are not, in order to increase the quality whilst simultaneously lowering the costs. But what exactly is a service? How can a service be defined? In order to fully understand this term, we shall listen to the following dialogue between the IT Operation Manager Daniel and the IT Service Manager Anna.
Anna, I have a question for you. What's the definition of services?
Well, Daniel, I think that services are opportunities to create added value for customers, facilitating or supporting them to reach their end goal. In doing so, the customers themselves do not have to take any responsibility for the specific costs and risks.
What does that mean in everyday life? Give me a few reference points, please, so that I can understand it better.
Right. Good services have a positive effect on the business activities and thereby set the premise for better performances. A good service substantially increases the probability that the desired results are actually reached.
Okay, but why without taking responsibility for the costs and risks? Customers cannot just wish them away, can they?
No, of course they can't. They are naturally ready to pay a price for it, but they do not want to have to struggle with the details of the costs and the arising risks. That is why they need a service provider, who relieves them of these worries and deals with the tasks themselves. If the customer had to do all this himself, he wouldn't need a provider, would he?
Aha! Because a service provider is specialized in managing and controlling supply costs and risks?
Yes, and also because the customer should be focusing on attaining the company results and not on the provision of IT services.
And the service provider is in a better position to spread the resulting costs and risks to multiple customers and thus minimize the overall risk. The real value of a service is very difficult to gauge. It can, however, be regarded in degrees as to what extent the service fulfills or exceeds expectations of the customer. The value can also be measured by how readily the customer pays for the service. The value of a service is therefore not assessed on the basis of its price or other objective attributes of the service. Unlike the price of products, the value of the service is not in the service itself, but in what is intended to be achieved with it. The value of the service can therefore not be determined by the operator, but only by the customer. A service is distinguished by the following characteristics. Its value is determined by the customer. It depends on the customer's intended goals. Joint negotiations are held about its quality. However, the customer has the final decision. This value can change over time due to circumstances. Possible changes depend on how important and urgent the service is to the customer. An incident is an unplanned interruption or a reduction in the quality of an IT service. The loss of a configuration item without temporary effects on a service is also an incident. The user of the IT services relies on these services running smoothly. If he can no longer use the IT services as he's used to, or his work is impaired by it, he contacts the service desk or the IT organization. Incident management is the process responsible for managing the life cycle of all incidents. The most important goal of the incident management is to restore the IT service for the users as quickly as possible. This process for rectifying disruption works in 3 stages: first, second, and third level.
Click on the keywords to find out more about this process.